Animal Crossing players are taking this turnip shit way too seriously. I decided this week that I would buy as many turnips as I could afford and then negotiate with other players online to collaborate with them to get the best turnip prices. This is something that's been going on for the past several weeks. There's this weird sort of pseudo online economy when it comes to this sort of thing that I've only just now started to grasp and understand. It's baffling. It's baffling to see what's happening here. Uh, Animal Crossing New Horizons, unlike other games in the series, allows you to visit other people's towns and take advantage of certain features, namely the fact that different towns will have different prices on the turnip market. So it's very, very, very possible to buy turnips in your town for a very low price, move to another town later on in the week, and then sell them at massively, massively, massively inflated prices. So I've been going buying turnips for about 100 bells a pop, and then traveling to other towns to sell them at 500 bells a pop. So I'm making like a considerable gains, like so considerable in fact that like I've a single trip is generally enough to pay off an entire house payment. Like I, it's that it's that it's that lucrative, right? So there's a very big incentive for you to do this. It's a big easy way to get everything settled in your town within a couple of weeks, and I am working on doing that, figuring out like the methodology to do that, right? And I've realized a couple of things. One, people are not willing to sort of just let you run around their island and take advantage of their turnip prices. Like if they are taking part in the turnip stock market, they are taking great pains to make sure that you don't fuck with their towns and and you can't really and you pay what you owe, right? So if you're going there to take advantage of their economy, they're going to ask something of you, like whether it's furniture or bells or Nook Miles tickets. Nook Miles tickets are very, very popular. I feel like, wow, it's just insane to me to see just how this plays out. Like today, I spent several hours trying to get into a room. I discovered a very interesting website, Turnip Exchange. It's essentially a website that seems to have been set up to deal with the stock market, where players can go on and advertise their islands, and you can visit them and like wait in line to come on. Which is very, very helpful if you need to find an island that's something like 500 to 600 bells, which is what I've been doing. But the problem here is because of the way the online works, you're going to be waiting for a long time. So I spent like several hours watching islands shut down, watching people owners get mad, being worried about potential scammers, until I found a reasonably good one from a Koholint Island, who hilariously managed to put in the Ballad of the Windfish for their town theme, which I love. So I waited several hours to get onto this island. Right, I immediately come out, step out onto the airport, and immediately see this entire stretch of land just stretching out in front of me, and either side of the path are like these solid wood fences, right? So you get off the airport and there are like fences on both sides, essentially walling you in up to the path to Nook's Cranny, right? So you have this path that you can't deviate from, leading right up to Nook's Cranny. And there was a girl there, the girl I was visiting, who was standing by the gate like a guard, and asked me to uh, leave my tip, essentially. I need to pay what I owed, and I was already prepared. I dropped I dropped what we agreed to, and she let me go ahead. And I went out there. I went out there, got my turnips, immediately tried to leave, and another person came right in. And for some reason, you can't leave an island while people are looking at their phones, which is like bizarre to me. I don't know what that is. Like it unnecessarily slowed down the process. I think it felt like to me, why are people spending 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes on these islands? Like, I don't understand it. Like, this girl I was with seemed to have streamlined it so, like, people can't fuck around, right? So, like, she had this path to Nook's Cranny, and she was, like, guarding it and making sure people paid what they owed and stuff like that. But, like, a lot of these islands I was looking at, like, ones that had higher or even lower prices, a lot of them were packed, and people simply would not leave. It was just, I was seeing like people be there like for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes and never leaving. It was really, really bizarre, and I'm not really sure if there's any way to fix that, if players can sort of deal with that. I have no idea what people are doing, how the island owners are handling this stuff. Like, they're basically sitting there all day guarding people, making sure, like, bringing more people in, making sure they pay what they owe, like, doing all of this stuff. Like, it's just like, wow. It's really, really bizarre. And it was so, there were so many like nonsensical elements to this, like having to pay the tip, having to wait in line, like doing all this stuff. Like, I'm not sure I want to pay the stock market anymore. Like, I'm probably going to experiment going forward. I think I might just buy a bunch of turnips and then wait later in the week, right? Instead of like trying to do it on Monday, like I did today, where I was just like, the day after, where like everyone is trying to do it. I might wait till like Wednesday or Thursday or something, so the crowds aren't as terrible. I think that was the big problem, is that like everyone wanted their money like right away, and I think if you could just play the game normally, I spent some time like setting up my turnips, like setting a place in my house to put them. Probably have a turnip garden in like in the actual village eventually when I really, really get going. I'm making plans for that. I'm doing all this stuff. I feel like, there's it's kind of interesting to see the meta game that's sort of bursting around this, because this isn't a competitive game. When you get right down to it, it's not a competitive game at all, and yet some people are just really, really exploiting it for all of its worth to almost ludicrous degrees. I would say ludicrous degrees. Like, it's effective, sure, to make a lot of bells quickly, but is it really worth it? Is it really worth your time to just put that much effort? Like, arrange your town so that you specifically have this airport, and just it's just strange to me. I have no idea. I have no idea what to make of it. It's kind of it's a very different kind of meta game, or like sort of competitive nature, where you're essentially like you're essentially trying to make the most profit for yourself. Really, like when you get right down to it, like you have high turnip prices yourself, and you try to exploit that. Like, this is why the whole tip thing started happening. I'm just like I find it really, really interesting how this developed, and I'm wondering if it's going to change going forward. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how. But it's definitely a great way to get money. I find it. It was well worth my time. Like, I paid off an entire house payment with it, so it's definitely worth your time. So, Animal Crossing New Horizons is a very, very addicting game. There's a lot to learn, a lot of bells to be made, and I will be playing it for a very, very, very long time.